Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pure Live. It is Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you are exactly where you're supposed to be, right here. Thank you so much for joining us. And for those of you that have been here before, you know what we do. We start off with our sponsors. So here we go.
Hey, sis. My name is Yasmin Brown, and I am the founder of Beauties on Successful Strides. We are your sisterhood community that cares, and we are advocates for your goals being achieved. I'm talking about those goals that you have put on the shelf, those stretch goals that you really want to accomplish, but a part of you feel like it might be impossible. We have been helping women to make the impossible happen, and we want to journey with you. We want to be part of your tribe to help you with making the impossible happen. And we do that by helping you to shift from the no zone. The no zone is that zone where it's like, you know what, I really want to do it, but I don't know if I can. I don't know if I should. I don't know if I have enough resources to do so or the support to do so. The no zone is also the fear zone. We help you to shift from the no zone to the no matter what zone. The no matter what zone is having that head crusher, no matter what, get it done, bold, confident mindset. And then we help you to be equipped with spiritual success strategies to success. That is basically helping you with developing systems that works while being part of a community that will support you, love on you, cheer for you, celebrate you, be resource providers for you, and so much more. The time is now, sis. If you are serious about your goals being achieved, if you are serious about making the impossible happen and reaching that next level, then join us. Become part of our sisterhood. Become part of a community that truly, genuinely cares. And I'm just excited to welcome you to Boss soon. Let's go. Let's take them goals off the shelf. Let's make them happen. Let's make the impossible happen for you. See you soon. Bye.
I love that every time. Okay, so beautystrides.com. That's what you go to if you want to be involved. It is everything that she said it is. She is part of the reason that I had the show in the first place. So this whole community, and they are about to do some new stuff. So this is the time to get involved. I'm trying to tell you, sis, get to that website and join. All right, moving forward. For those of you that have watched and seen me wear some of these special outfits I've got from Posh Women's Apparel, hey, here are some of the outfits that they have on their website. And here are the ones that I have worn on the show. Hey, okay, I'll be representing. So if you guys want to get these outfits as well, you can go to poshwomensapparel.com. And if you put in the code Asia, you will get 10% off. You're welcome. And also with Abella Eyewear, if you go on my website, and you can see it at asiajamal.com, you will see at the top Abella Eyewear, you will get 30% off. Yes, you will. To get these cool shades. Okay. All right. So now that we have gone through all of that, it is time to get into this show, get into this hot topic. And please, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to ask questions and leave comments. We will respond. I can see them in real time. Here we go. We want to welcome our guests. Hey, we got Norman J. Liverpool IV, who has been here a few times. The founder of Over the Top Living. And we got Dr. Renier. I want you guys to introduce yourselves. Let's start with the doc. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Renee Min. I am a relationship wellness coach. I've been one for almost 10 years. I help people with relationships, personal and professional. I'm also an LGBTQ faith trauma educator and advocate, a graduate of New York Theological Seminary, and I am Miss Exquisite, Full Figure USA at Large 2021. So
Okay.
that's me.
All right, honey.
I
And Norman.
Well, my name is Norman J. Liverpool IV. I am the founder of Over the Top Living. I am a confident lifestyle coach for the LGBTQ plus community, and I'm also the author of Over the Top Living: Walking in Next Level Confidence Every Damn Day.
You better recognize. All right, and I will flash their websites throughout the show. And for those of you that are on the YouTube, this is what I want you to do. Please and thank you. Subscribe. Okay.
That was cute. I like that little animation.
Thank you. So, first of all, let's talk about what it is that we're talking about today. I was, so this topic was presented to me. This was not my topic that I chose. My dear Norman is actually the one that presented this topic. I would like you to tell the audience why you decided to go with this topic.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to really kind of have this conversation is because me being a gay black man that was raised in the church, I know the trauma, and even I will go so far to say even the PTSD that I got from my family, other members of the church, and when I look back, I feel like it caused me to really lose 10 years of my life
Hmm.
because I was spiraling to find who I was because who I was attached to something outside of me. And so,
Hmm.
because of that, I looked to everything around me to define me until I was able to realize that that thing that makes me me is beautiful. And so I wanted to really have this conversation so that we can really begin to mend these relationships, mend these communities, and really acknowledge where we went wrong.
Okay. All right. And Doc, why did you decide to join in on this conversation?
Well, having these discussions, they're part of my life. I train organizations in understanding where the bias towards LGBTQ individuals are rooted, which is in religion. And so I have, especially over the past year, worked with a lot of agencies here in New York City to facilitate that discussion. In addition to the fact I am a former clergy member inside the church, and I left the church in 2015. And I do, attend another church, but I am not back in the pulpit, and I have no desire to be back in the pulpit. My work is now in the world helping individuals deal with the PTSD of having faith based trauma and helping others understand, to my loud neighbors, helping others understand the damage, whether intentional or unintentional, that they may be causing every day.
Okay. So, for my viewers and listeners, I want to clarify why I chose to go ahead and move forward with this topic. So, as some of you know, if you watch the show, you know that I am a Christian woman. And I feel that there is a lot of information that is missing in regards to this topic. There's a lot of ignorance and misconceptions. And I want to help in this bridging the gap situation because, as a believer, what I believe in is the word. I believe in the Bible. And some people go with tradition. Some people go with what actually the Bible says. And the Bible itself says that we are to love one another. And that is exactly what I try to practice. And so I completely believe in what it is that these lovely human beings are trying to do. And so and I believe that we definitely need to have this conversation. So, one, I want to clarify what it is, what the problem is, and then they can. I want you guys to go ahead and follow behind me and tell me, your view on this. So, it is my understanding that in many situations, and I'll say the church because that is the reputation at hand, um, that it is believed that the church roughly handles those of the LGBTQ community based on their beliefs, um, that they will be, that they're on their way to hell. And so they treat them as if they're criminals, pretty much, and the disgrace to the human race and all kinds of other stuff. It is a real situation. People have been traumatized. People have been abused in the church or in their families if their families are a part of the church. Um, and it is beyond unfortunate. But I also want to clarify that this is not the basis of the belief that has been set forth by God. It is based off of the ignorance of certain members of the church. Yes, I am okay with saying that. This is my show. Um, so, that is my stance on that. So what did you say to what I just said? What is your response to that? Let's start with Norman.
I'm gonna actually let the doctor start because because
Okay.
while we have her on this platform, I want to make sure that we get this value to your viewers and to your listeners, and to have Dr. Rainier Amin here is such an amazing experience. So I'm gonna acquiesce to her.
Okay. All right. Amen. Go ahead, doctor.
Well, thank you for that, Norman. That means a lot. And just for anyone watching this, I'm in, not I mean. Although my dad will probably argue you down about that because and his
Well,
Muslim
you know
says
your
that it's I
name.
mean. But uh, in all truth, there is a lot of, I don't want to even just call it mishandling, because in some cases it's downright um, volatile
Mhm.
about how people treat the LGBTQ community. And the thing is, we can say the church, right? But it's not just the church, because religious, faith based trauma can happen in any setting that
Mhm.
uses a religious belief as its principle for why it's moving in the behavior that it is. So it can be the government, it can be a society, or even a policy at an institution. So let me say that, because some people will say, well, it's not just the church. Well, it's not. But here's the thing, most of what is quoted, if you ever see a post that is online about an LGBTQ person, by the time you get the comment about comment 5, there will be someone that is there that will make a statement that comes from a religious principle. The additional thing about that comes from individuals that don't even go to church. But the teachings that came from inside the church have been now passed to other individuals from that belief system.
Right.
So when you're talking about mishandling, no disrespect, that's a mild word for how
Mhm.
far individuals will go to make an LGBTQ person feel like they are an abomination. I'm gonna just call a spade, an abomination, sinner, someone who deserves to have death upon them. So when we're
Mhm.
talking, you know, I just had to like strip apart that word, and no offense to you about the mishandling, because in some cases, yes, but in most cases it's more grievous than that, because we also get blamed for the family structure. So there are like so
Mhm.
many moving parts that all stem from teachings that began back, we call it antiquity, but way back when none of us we were thought about in context of creation, but we weren't thought about in context of being here 2000
Now.
later.
Mhm.
you know. So that is my thought process around the church mishandling LGBTQ people.
And I did mention that they were dealing with it in a hateful manner, in an abusive manner.
Oh
So,
yes.
I did address that portion. But what is your viewpoint, Norman, in this situation?
So the thing is let me go back. I need to go back a little bit because I need to talk about this in context. So I grew up in the church, and I'm not talking about like I got up and went to a church. My grandmother was my pastor. Her son, my uncle, was the associate pastor. My aunts and uncles were associate pastors. And so it was not something that we just lived on Sunday. In Asia, you
Hmm.
can attest to this because as a family unit, we were very close.
Hmm.
And uh, we were very as close as we could have been at that time. But it was
Hmm.
like what Dr. Renier said, it wasn't just in the church because it's the people. The people are the church. And so it's
Hmm.
dealing with those people. And so what I found most traumatic for me is that because my church was my family, it hurt me even more because
Hmm.
now I associate family and church as one. There was no distinction for me because it was like I come to your house, you live next door to the church, right? Like it was like there was really no escaping it, even to the point where I felt like I could not even move away from Chicago until my grandmother passed away. It was like when she died, it gave me the permission to go and live my life. And so I think that especially in the black experience, and I'm not speaking for everyone, but at least in my experience and the experience that I've seen, the family and the church are so intertwined that you can't really tell the difference, especially when you have members of clergy in your family, right? Like I remember going over to my grandmother's house and she had said something like this. Then my uncle's like, "Why is your wrist like this? And you're walking so fast." And so it permeated from the church into every day to where the point is now you're scared or afraid to be you. You are battling within yourself, and that was the thing that was hardest for me because it's like I love God, but I'm also me. And if I'm created in his image, how do people outside of me know more about where my eternal rest is going to be than me from my relationship with God? And
Hmm.
so it really caused me to disconnect, which is why I moved away and did not go back for several years because I didn't recognize the difference between my family and the church.
Understood, completely understood. And again, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to comment and leave questions. I see somebody is in in the comments. Leaving
That's
put
my
me in
that's my that's
comments.
my partner.
Okay. But yes, feel free to leave questions and comments. And I know some of you might be hesitant to do so. I understand. So I want to say this. First of all, as the host of this show, I am neutral. And with that being said, there are certain things that won't necessarily be argued in this episode. But if you guys desire for that to happen, please leave that in the comments, and we'll address. Um, so first of all, I want to say this. Uh, I am Asia Jamal Rogers. I cannot speak for the church. I can only speak for myself. So as Asia Jamal Rogers, a Christian woman, I will say this. I am still in the learning process in regards to this entire topic. Um, at the same time, never have I been in a situation where I felt like I needed to condemn my cousin or anyone else, or feel like I needed to throw shade or hate or anything else. Because, first of all, I do not have a heaven or hell to send anyone to. That is first and foremost. Second of all, I cannot say where someone is in their relationship with God. And third, God, throughout the entire Bible, taught love, 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 love. Okay, you know, so that is my stance. I want to show love for everyone, and so I say that to say this, and I have made this statement before, and so I will make it again. If you throw hate on anyone, but we are talking about the LGBTQ community, but on anyone, and you say it is in the name of the Most High, you are a liar. Because that is not what God is about. Period. Point
And
blank.
and what bothers me about this whole thing is, I don't know, for some reason I started thinking about Kim Burrell and
Oh,
that whole thing that happened, but it trips me out that they will, and when I say they, I'm talking about the church, will condemn LGBTQ people, but then that's the first person they want to be their choir director. They gotta go to a show. That's the first person they're calling to beat that mug and to spit in that hair. Like it bothers me. And it truly does. As a former choir director, it's like, oh, we like that
okay.
he jumps around and has fun, but not with that gay stuff. And so it's just like, okay, so you just want to use my gifts.
Okay.
And that was the turning point for me. When I realized that my gifts were being extorted, when I realized that the thing that makes me me, they wanted without this other part which intersects.
Mm-hmm.
That is what the challenge I had. Because, oh, you want me to come and direct the choir, beat your mug and curl your hair, and that's it?
Okay. Okay. So mm, you're making me address
This is
things I
a
don't want to
very rich
address.
topic. We might need to have
Yes,
a
it
part two.
is. We might. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna have to dig in the nitty gritty if I'm gonna be a good host. Um, let's deal with a couple of parts in this topic. Okay, so you mentioned Kim Burrell. I remember specifically that situation. I listened to what it is that they made go viral. So I'm gonna deal with that before I deal with the other portion of what you said. Can you be mad at her for preaching what she believes, knowing that that is what the church does in the first place, and someone else recording it and posting it? It's not like she decided, I'm a blast the LGBTQ
It's
community.
2021.
Yeah, but hold
Every
on, but hold on. Let me finish my question. Let me finish my question.
Okay, go
I know you ready, baby. I know, but but hold on.
ahead. Okay.
Er- People already know the stance of ministers and people in the church. Someone else recorded what she preached, which has been preached for a long time, and posted it, and it went viral. Now, in her sermon, not any point in her sermon did she say she hated the LGBTQ community. Not anywhere did she say she hated or had problems with. What she said in the specific sermon was what she believed the Bible was saying about the LGBTQ community. And so you guys know the background and why I am kind of what they say. I'm skipping around it a little bit, because because I'm trying to address it the way that I need to in this particular episode. It is clear to me at this point that we are probably going to need a part two. But in this particular situation, there are parts in the Bible, and I remember me and you, Norman, having these discussions early on. When you moved to Fayez, and I had questions and things, and we talked about certain scriptures and what they meant, and translations and things like that. So, what we're dealing with right now is a group of people that believe in the Bible, and according to the many translations of the Bible, we come up with what we feel is a sin or what we feel is not a sin. Now, what we do with that information, you know, we we may have, like with Kim Burrell preaching, this is not okay. Doesn't mean that you hate these people, but this is not okay. Or you have situations where people are challenging you to think further. What does this mean? Or you have people that are part of, the LGBTQ community that says this is not saying what you think it says. So before you say anything, Norman, because we haven't heard much from the doctor.
Right. Now, I was going to say she is the
Yes,
doctor. She went to
right,
theological school.
right.
I need her to chime in on that.
So I want you, Doc, to chime in on this situation. What do you say about that? Because I have mixed emotions in regards to this situation specifically, because it's like, well, it's not like you guys didn't know that this is what she believed. So to put it out there as if she's hateful, I think that's kind of unfair. This is just her preaching what it is that she believes, but not in a hateful manner. What is your statement on your belief on this?
So I do hear and understand that preachers been preaching this message for a long time. I am not upset that it was recorded because I feel like sometimes people toe the line. They put out music, they sing these songs, we're listening to it just like anyone else, and then when you get to the end of the song, you're shell shocked by some call out of coming out of being gay. There's another song that did that I refuse to listen to, even though they redid it and took it out. It's important for
Hmm.
me to know who believes what they believe. It's why I don't eat Chick-fil-A. It's why I don't support certain places. Because when it comes to what I spend my dollars on, I would prefer to spend it on someone who I know supports me and behind closed doors is not preaching against me. That's as far as the recording of Kim Burrell.
Okay.
I don't get into big arguments and debates with people about the Bible. I believe that people are entitled to believe what they believe. However, I don't engage conversations with people around it who have done no additional study of the Bible. If you tell me that the only reason why you believe this is the way that it is because that's what you were taught or someone told you, then I will respect where you're at. But there's no place that we can meet because in situations like that, oftentimes people are having a debate with me to try to prove me wrong. They're not having the conversation with me of enlightenment because they are already clear. There's nothing that I'm going to say that's going to change
Right.
their mind. So there's no point to that.
Mm.
Now, if I walked into if I walked into Kim Burrell's concert and after she did all of that, jumped up and said, I need to see every piece of fabric that you have on your body. And if there was anything that was mixed, anything else, if I turned around and said, well, what you've just done is an abomination and you're going to hell, everybody in the room would turn around and say to me, that's no longer relevant. That's
Mm.
no that society has changed, times have changed. If I walked into a room and saw a man with long locks or long hair, and I walked up to him and I said, "Yeah, you're a child of God, but what you doing right now, that's unnatural." Somebody would say to me, "That's no longer relevant." in today's time. Paul was talking about what he was talking about to the people he was talking about it to, in the voice he was talking about it, and the times that were relevant to that society at the time. And I would be expected to say, okay, that makes sense. However, if I turn around and say to someone that the scriptures that you are using against me are no longer relevant as it appears in time, that they were not talking about same gender loving people, they were talking about the politics of the system, they were talking about concubinism with young pubescent boys, they were talking about something else that was going on. These laws were for these people, these laws were for that people. They would tell me that I'm a heretic and being blasphemous to the word of God. But no one can explain to me why certain elements of the Bible are relative to the cultural society that they existed in, but the scriptures, the six, because there's only six out of the entire Bible, the six scriptures that are talking about LGBTQ supposedly are still relevant. No one has broken that down to me. And until someone can break down to me why this is relevant and this is not relevant, and we talk about the words and the meanings,
The etymology.
Hmm.
then I think that we have a moot point. That there's no way to have this conversation and it lead to a place of healing if the other parties that are speaking these words are not willing to come to the table with theologians and studiers of the word that do not agree 100% with what they're saying.
Yeah,
Listen,
completely understood.
mic drop, mic drop. Because that's the same thing that I had. The exact. You took the words literally from my mouth. The same people that will say this. Like I was watching a show last night, but that didn't stop you eating catfish from the fish fry, or shrimp, and like all of these other things. And so what it becomes is it becomes a buffet style version of of the church. That's what it becomes. Because even if you look at it even further about the way we're supposed to dress, keep our hair, things that we're supposed to do around our home, all of these things, they're not relevant today. And I think a lot of times we miss the point of the New Testament.
Hmm.
I'm not a doctor. I have not gone to theological school. But what my understanding is that when the New Testament came, that was a new covenant. That was something new, and it was not mentioned.
Hmm.
Am I wrong about that, Doctor? I just want to make sure I'm saying what's right.
No,
That's not
there was a new
100%.
covenant.
Yeah, there was a new covenant. That part is true, but the fact of it not being mentioned is not 100% true. There
No,
Okay,
it
so
was
are,
it was
yeah,
definitely mentioned.
it
Yeah.
was, it, there
what I
are,
meant to say, Jesus. It says that Jesus did not.
yes,
That's Thank you for that correction.
yes.
So I want to take a break right here. I'm going to address this when we come back, but we're going to take a small break and then we're going to go further with this conversation. Okay, 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 okay. All right, here we go. Hi, I'm Asia Jamal Rogers, and I'm a singer, songwriter, choreographer, voice actor, and I'm the creator and talk show host of Pure Live. Pure is an acronym for perfectly undefined raw elegance. So naturally, we want our content to be pure, raw, and elegant. It airs live every Friday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube and Facebook. And if you'd like to see all of the episodes, you can reach it at asiajamal.com, ASIAJAMAL.com. Or if you'd like to be on the show, you can reach me at asiajamal.com. Hope to see you soon. Hope to see you soon.
I like that. That's cute, girl.
Thank
College
you.
jamming.
My
All right.
producers put that together. Hey. Okay. So first of all, I want to say this. So there's this show that my brother got me on. Thank you, Joshua. Joshua. And it is called The Chosen. And this particular show, you can find it on Peacock, and it's free. So don't trip. Um, go on Peacock, look up The Chosen. And this particular thing, it is showing um, the life of Jesus through the eyes of his disciples. And in this particular story, the reason I'm bringing this up is because there was a particular Pharisee, Nicodemus, that was kind of front and center. And the reason that he was front and center is because he was presented with something that was outside of what they were used to, outside of their religion. So let me break it down for you, you guys. The reason I'm saying religion versus faith, Christianity is supposed to be faith. That is the faith. That is what we believe in. Religion, by definition, is what you practice. That is not what you believe in, it is what you practice. And a lot of that, what you practice is based off of what you believe. So that's why they get intertwined. Okay, moving forward. I'm about educating y'all. Hello. So in this particular show, he is presented with something that is different than what they're used to practicing and what they're used to seeing. And so he says to his fellow Pharisees, if this is the man of God, if this is the Messiah, then why would we not open our minds? Why would we not be open to what it is that he's doing and what it is that he is presenting to us? Who are we to say that this is the only way to be? And this is what he said. And yes, this is a show, but this is also based off of what actually happened and what is documented in the word. And again, feel free to ask questions and leave comments as I am speaking and we are speaking. All right. Okay. With that being said, even with my own pastor, one of the things that he has said is like, why would we think that today is not a day that we can still experience miracles? Why would we think that today is not a day that we can still hear the word of God? The Bible was written, inspired by God. God inspired these people to write what was written. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is things have changed. We had the Old Testament. We had the New Testament. We're still alive past that New Testament. Who's to say that God is not still speaking and saying, this is how we are to handle today. This is how we are to deal with what's going on today. Now, here's why I'm bringing this up. In the Bible, it says God is love. So to state that what the LGBTQ community experiences cannot be love, who are we to say what is love? If you align yourself with the creator of love, that I'm just saying, love is love is love. So that is my stance on it. And I want to know how you feel about it, Dr. Renier, in regards to what I just said.
I'm sorry, I muted just in case because I live on a highway, so you never know. But I believe that is. I wish that was the premise that people would take that are in disagreement of things. If they could just say, you know what, I'm required to love my neighbor. I'm required to move in love as God is. Whatever, and I'm speaking in the voice of whatever these people choose to do, that's their right, their business. I'm moving in love, then that would be great. I don't get upset that people disagree. That's your right to believe what you want to believe. There's some things that I believe that some people may be like, why do you, how do you feel that way? It's just, that's my belief system. Where the challenge comes in is when they're using the idea of who God is as a weapon instead of a tool of healing. So
Mm-hmm.
I wish that people that were on the fence or in absolute disagreement would come from a loved place, because there's a scripture that says, anything done without love is like clanging cymbals. It just is noise. It's chaos. And God is not a God of chaos. And so, it while I was sitting here, I got to thinking about time. And as old as the Bible is not as old as the word homosexuality is to the Bible. The word only began appearing in the in the Revised Standard Version, because that was the first version it was in, 1946. That's not that long ago.
Right.
And there is, and for anyone that is watching, if you go to YouTube and you Google 1946 the movie, there's a documentary being made right now with in relationship to how that word ended up in the Bible, and the team of translators that made the decision, because they were still alive as of some of the taping for the documentary, why they made the decision and why they now regret making the decision.
Mm-hmm.
That's why some of the newer Bibles, especially in like the New Revised Standard Version, it does not have it. And so that's the thing about when we're talking about that time, because things get translated. There's so many different translations of the Bible that it isn't even all of the writings that were considered the Bible until we got to the canonized version, when we ended up with the 66 books. So that's why I'm sitting here, and it had me in thought, because I wish that people would take that stance. If they can't take any other one, is to move in love and be loved, because God is love. So thank you for saying that. Thank you so much for saying that.
Absolutely. Norman?
After that, all I can say is I second that. Because again, we all have our different belief systems, right? We have things like, for example, I don't eat beef or pork because I don't want to, right? But I'm not going to knock someone if I go out to dinner and they have a hamburger. You
Mm-hmm.
see what I'm saying? And so, like what Doctor was saying, if we move in a place of love, then it would really eradicate a lot of it. But what I think the issue is that, and again, I'm talking from the Black experience, because I feel like historically Black people have been so downtrodden, and when they get into the church, there is a sense of power. There is a sense of entitlement, and I personally have seen it. So to where is I've been called by God to tell you what to do, and what you, I don't know if I'm articulating it properly, but there is a sense of I'm almost going to call it a false sense of power that comes from
Mm-hmm.
some people in the church, because they believe that they're called and they can do this, and that. And I feel like that was another one of my struggles, because I felt that we're all number one, we're all human. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We all fall short, and the Bible says all have sinned and fall short, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for a person or a group of people to feel that they are above or around that, I take issue with. Because even though I'm coming to you for spiritual guidance, you are still a man or a woman, or you
Mm-hmm.
are still a person.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you to feel that because you are in this position, that now you can dictate, even to on a public level, where I'm going to spend eternity, what's wrong with what I'm doing, that is bothersome. But again, I piggyback on what the doctor said. If we could just operate in love,
Mm-hmm.
just simply operate in love,
Mm-hmm.
and let you do you. Stay in your lane. I'm gonna stay in mine.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
Can I
Go
just say
ahead.
something? And
Sure.
it just was laid on me. So I just need to say it. I think part of the thing too around the conversation of moving in love is that a lot of people would define what they do as being in love, because people have different definitions of what love looks like. I was reading a book once. It was called Bulletproofing Your Faith, and it was for LGBTQ individuals. And she broke down this story in it about how when sometimes when people, like people that come from that place, really, really deep down inside believe that they are trying to save people from something.
Mm-hmm.
And so for some people, that is their definition of love, whether it be tough love or, as Mary say, real love. That's how they define, that's how they define love. And so I remember being in a room once, and they were talking about the transgender community, and they didn't know I was a
Mm-hmm.
member of the LGBTQ community. I was just listening, and then they
Mm-hmm.
came. They the ones that knew swung it past me, and I said to them, I said, I'm not going to get into a big conversation about this because you're clear where you're at. I said, however, one of the big problems is there are conversations happening about individuals, but the individuals aren't invited into the room to participate in that conversation. So you
Mm-hmm.
asking me something about a transgender concern, when you should have someone in here from the transgender community to respond to that. So, I applaud you for allowing us to be here to be part of the conversation. But if we're talking about mending,
Mm-hmm.
then a lot of the preachers that are on the all the way on the right about that should
Mm-hmm.
come to the middle of the table and have conversations with pastors and preachers of affirming and inclusive ministries, and see how the bridge can be gapped. The
Mm-hmm.
bridge can be gapped. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
bridging
know
the
what
gap.
you mean.
Shrunken.
The gap to be bridged is, I think you wouldn't say, yeah.
Right. And
You're
so
welcome.
I think that becomes a big part, that we're unable to bring everyone to the table and have a full conversation, and one that would end in a way of a respectful place. I don't see that happening right now.
Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
because for that to happen, those people on that right, like you said, are going to have to be willing to say, you know what, I don't have all of the answers. Let's get into community and discuss it. Because what's going to happen is that I feel like sometimes it's almost a fear of having your mind opened. You know what I mean? It's because then when your mind is open, now you have to say, you know what, I didn't get that all the way right, congregation. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't get that all the way right. And I think so many times a lot of ministers exalt themselves to the point where they can't or don't want to or won't admit when they're wrong, or when their mind has been opened or their heart has been opened for a new concept. You know, even going back to, I'll give you an example. I remember my grandmother, I never saw her wear pants. I never saw her wear pants. And that was something that was condemned. My mom had to wear this white thing with a pin through it, dresses down to the ankles. You can only wear a 1.5 inch heel, no lipstick, all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that came to my mind because that was another movement, if you will. You know, I just watched the Clark sisters movie, and I remember seeing Dr. Maddie Moss Clark slam the door on her daughter when she came to the house in pants. And so it really has to be the willingness to say, I don't have all of the answers. Just because I'm a minister or a member of clergy, I don't have all the answers. And I need to be open to seeing other perspectives, because at the end of the day, if the goal is to bring the people onto God and to
Hmm.
get the flock, it has to be an inclusive situation. It has to be an
Yeah,
inclusive situation.
yeah. Now we are getting very short on time, so I want to say this. It's definitely exactly what Norman said, but on both sides. So I have been able to hear, you know, issues from both sides of the table. And one of the concerns or whatever, which is why I know we have to have a part two, is why does this have to be in my face? What you prefer to do with your life or who you prefer to do it with, that's your business. The fact that this has to be a big movement or have to, gay pride and all this other stuff. It's like, but why? I'm not walking around talking about, straight pride and heterosexual,
Can I
and all that
can I
stuff.
can I say something really quick?
Uh,
Just really quick.
okay, just make it real quick because I don't have that much time left. Go
It's
ahead.
important no, it's important to understand, and we can cover a lot of this in part two.
Okay.
But pride did not start as what we know it as today. It was
Okay.
not a celebration. It was a riot that started because people just wanted to be in a gay bar or in a gay setting living their life. So I think it's important. A
Hmm.
lot of people will see, the balloons and the floats and all of that. That is not where pride was birthed.
Hmm. Yes, and this is why I said I wanted the part two because I have that understanding. So with all that being said, on both sides of the table, one thing, first of all, we have to do is be willing to have a conversation. Two, we have to be willing to just love one another. And that's it, whether it's the LGBTQ community or anything else that we are challenged with in regards to our beliefs. That is the mindset that we have to have. We are all human beings, period. Whatever your preference is, whatever your gender, your race, your religion, your faith, your whatever, we are all people, we are all human beings. And to take the stance to say you are beneath me or you are not okay, which is really saying the same thing, it's like, who are you to say that? I believe in God. Norm believes in God. There are many people that believe in God. But we understand God has his power. God has his, knowledge and wisdom and everything that we don't have. We are not in that position. Like I've said so many times, I don't have a heaven or hell to send anybody to, and I am grateful for that because I am a person. I have, human feelings. I have human perspective. I have, wisdom. I'm continuously growing and learning. I do not have that infinite wisdom, and I think that we all have to be open to the fact that just recognize the fact that we don't have that infinite wisdom, and so we are all constantly learning. If we understand that and stop coming from a place of hate, I don't care if it's, I don't hate, I don't, yes, you do. If you're going to sit there and stand and say, I condemn you, you're going to hell. That is a stance of hate. That's not loving, because if you go into the word, if you go into the Bible, Jesus did not come at them that way. Even the ones that, the one that was blatantly sinning, what they call it, a concubine, or, whatever. He said, whoever is without sin cast the first stone. And then he walked off. That's how we handle that. You understand? So if we are Christians, which means followers of Christ, then we are to behave as he did. And if we are not behaving as he did, then who are we to say that our way is better? That is my stance. So we have 5 minutes left. What's your
So,
remarks?
I just want to address two things. The first thing is, so there's always this talk about the gay agenda, And I love it when it comes up because I just think that is like I always think of gay people being in a room and going, okay, today we're gonna do this at 7:15. We're gonna do this at 7:25.
Yeah.
If you if you took all the gay people off for television, you removed all the storylines and you took gay people off the street. They're not allowed to walk and hold hands with their partner. They're not allowed to raise their children. All this other stuff. All you would have is straight people. That's how television looked about what 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But during the time of the Brady Bunch, when they couldn't even have the beds in the same, they couldn't even be in the same bed. So if I'm a LGBTQ person and I want to see others that look like me, just like some people want to see people that look like their race, or people want to see people that look like this, that, and the other. Me wanting to see my family structure on TV is not an agenda. Me wanting to walk down the street and hold my partner's hand like I see Bob and Sue holding hands across the street is not an agenda. It's not putting anything in front of someone. It's just moving in what's already happening. I heard people talking about the kiss with little Nas X on his show, but there was a kiss that happened on another show, and it was okay. What is making things
You
a
talking about this music video?
No, his performance.
is performance.
Oh, oh, okay.
But this is why there's more than one conversation that comes behind this,
Mm-hmm.
because if 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 the exact same behavior, like they made it about the kiss, but if I turn on another TV show, I can see a man and a woman. You might as well say it reminds me of the B Cinemax movies back in the day when I was growing up, that now it's just on regular television, but that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. But as soon as one of them kiss someone of the same gender, there's a problem. So there's a double standard on. I'm not the moment I want to see what looks like me, I have an agenda. But I have to sit and watch what doesn't look like me, and that's perfectly okay. So that's one of the things that confuses me about this idea of putting it in front of people's face when we're simply just living. And the final part that I'll say is that there's so much more to this, going down to adverse childhood experiences. But there's a statistic that I always that I bring up in my workshops. It was done by the Trevor Project, and they said not some, each episode of LGBTQ victimization, physical or verbal, causes an LGBTQ person to self harm at 2.5 times more than a non LGBTQ person. Each. So that means every time a word is called to someone, every time their life is made a bill, and now their rights are taken away because someone in government has decided that they don't have the rights that they should have. Every time that there is a place and a space when LGBTQ person is talked about, harassed, or violence is acted upon, there is a ripple effect. And it can cause someone to go and take their own life 2.5 times the average rate. That's a lot. And I am sure that at base of everything, God does not want his children or out here dying at strictly the words of someone else. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Point blank.
Yeah. Norman?
Thank you for having me. Again, I'm going to plug my book. You can go to book.overthetopliving.com. But Asia, thank you for having the space for us, and Doctor, thank you for being here, because when we talked about this, Asia, I really thought that it was important to have someone who's not just lived the experience, but someone who has done the research, the studies, someone who works in this every day to bring a different perspective. And I'm looking forward to see what we can create for part 2.
All right. And before we go, I want to plug these websites. Okay. For the doctor, we got pinklovewellness.com. Please go to her website. And for Norman, for those of you that did not remember, it's overthetopLiving.com.
Yes, indeed.
Holla at your boy. You can get his book from there as well. And yeah, we're definitely going to have a part two. So for those of you that wanted to ask questions or you have comments, feel free to still do so. I will pay attention and we'll address them at whenever our part two will be.
Awesome.
Thank
All
you
righty.
guys so much for joining. Have a good evening. Remember to embrace God's perfect design, which is you. And you'll be here Friday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. You know what's up. See you then. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.